And now for immersive analysis, let's turn to the political commentator Chuks Akunna, who is the executive director of the Authority newspaper in Abuja and former bureau chief in Port Harcourt for This Day newspaper. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. And just for those who might not know, international viewers, Port Harcourt is the capital of Rivers State.
Exactly.
And that is where we're having all this problem now between Nyesom Wike, who was the former governor, and the new governor, godfather, godson situation. What do you make of all that?
Exactly, and I think in some ways a sense of deja vu. I was 20 years ago. I was chief press secretary in Anambra State, and
yes, that's where Chris
was kidnapped.
The governor was.
Yes, exactly. The same thing, same scenario, same everything. Only that in our own case, the House of Assembly, a letter was sent to the House of Assembly, when he was said to have resigned. But, it's the same scenario. And this always happens when our selection process goes awry, because it costs so much to run for elections in Nigeria. We know how much party tickets and party nomination forms cost. So, and if you don't have a strong political and strong financial war chest, this kind of scenarios that happen. And most times, most incumbents and sponsors are eager to put their own person there so they can actually pay back, as it were. So, this was expected. I mean, not unexpected, I would say that, but it's for some people it's surprising that it's happening this early.
But what's the background to the case?
No, you had the Ijaw National Council chairman, and it's the same story everywhere. You have someone who's put you there and he makes sure that you're puppet. Then what he does is to every now and again, people. I remember those days, Ngige, every night Ngige will have to call up Chief Chris Uba and more or less relieve the day's activities.
I like
that.
That must be so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I was there, and so we just knew that it was a matter of time before everything was going to explode in people's faces, and it happened. So it's
and they usually have their own people there.
Yes.
So if what the governor tells him contradicts what someone else says, I mean, that could be fairly eruptive, couldn't it?
No, even before that, he dared not tell the governor, the Godfather, a different thing, because I'm sure prior to that conversation, his agents must have told him.
Yeah.
So the governor
what happened?
So the governor, would have no choice, would have a choice than to tell him exactly what happened. I woke up at 8 a.m. I went here. We passed through the same thing. So it's not, when I saw this happen, I chuckled because, it's like I said, sense of deja vu.
Well, that must make the governor feel so insecure.
Exactly. And like our own case, Ngige went as far as going to shrine to swear to an oath of allegiance. So several things. I'm sure the last has not been heard between what's happened. What happened behind the scenes, because most times they go to swear to deities. Then aside that they plan very powerful process. You heard what the president of IYC said, about commissioners, talking back at the governor, and stuff, It's really scary. It's scary, and but that, unfortunately, and start quite sadly, that's the reality of our political life in Nigeria.
Well, that is, I think the word scary is an understatement. It is absolutely terrifying.
It is.
Because you have to, what it suggests is that the politics in this country has been completely, to use a cliche, hijacked.
Exactly.
By people who have taken over for their own personal reasons. And they're so powerful and so financially solvent in a country that is ravaged by poverty. That there really isn't, there's hardly any way to extricate yourself except perhaps through the rebellion of this governor, for instance.
Of the godson.
Yeah, of the godson, who's rebelled against it. And what that means is that having fought off a lot of these people, he may now buy himself some traction.
Exactly. And when this happened, I started feeling bad because I had thought of writing a book, after 10 years. That didn't happen. 20 years. I said, had I written a book, about my experience, about Godfathers, and perhaps one or two persons, including Governor of Rivers State, may have taken a cue from that. But that said, I saw the action of the police. And, like I said earlier, deja vu. The same police in 2003 that threatened to shoot Ngige, the same police that told him to shut up. A sergeant actually told Ngige to shut up. You win election, now we rig election for you. He told the governor, then. And then so you saw, there was this viral videos of the SSS details shouting at the policeman that this is the governor, and the policeman, said he didn't care. They were
shooting into the air and firing tear gas.
And then water, using water cannon on the governor.
I mean, we can see that the
so and it also goes to tell you, when people did not win elections by popular votes. I mean, that's the truth. You see, when you're rigged into office, because if you have the people power, no single man, no matter how powerful, no matter how rich, will be able to subject you to the kind of humiliation you suffered. I'll tell us what happened on 10 October and 10th July 2003 when Igwe Anupu of Anambra State, the man who actually rescued Ngige, when he asked the policeman what was going on, and he said, my mandate. The policeman told him, shut up, which mandate? No, we rig election for you. You win. Napito, you win. So it's the same scenario also in Rivers State. The elections in Rivers State was very bloody.
I was going to ask you, why is it that politics in Rivers State in particular always seems to be so violent? I mean, you were the bureau chief for this day in Port Harcourt.
And very little has changed. In fact, it's become worse. Because you see, like you said earlier, it's about poverty. It's about control of resources. Aside Lagos, I think the second richest state in Nigeria is Rivers State, because it's capital of the oil and
the oil belt.
The oil belt is capital, and all the IGR comes there naturally. I mean, it had the first international airport in South. So several issues, Port Harcourt really comes to mind. So if you're governor of that state, and from Odili to Wike, each time, you see, we also don't help matters. Every time a governor wakes up, he has like 1,000 SMS messages. And of the 1,000 messages, 999 I can guarantee are begging messages.
Right.
So, and the governor, Excellency, and people don't want to upset the governor. Even as media aid, I was media aid, you don't want to show your boss newspaper headlines that annoy him. So even there are stories that...
So you yourself had to be political.
Even if there are stories that might annoy him. But it's different now because of social media. Of course, before you go to give the governor...
Yeah, he's already read it on his phone.
So it's more difficult for media aids now. But in our own time, you bury those stories so that, because you don't want to upset him, from breakfast, the governor is waking up to read newspapers and saying bad press about himself. The whole day, you ruin the whole day. So it's very interesting.
So based on your clearly deep knowledge of how bad things can degenerate between sort of godsons and godfathers, and which often resorts to violence, as you have cited yourself, what's the way to solve that problem?
It's by firming up the electoral process. I must tell us, no matter how good you are as a candidate, no matter how presentable you are, no matter how wanted you are, you must go through political parties. And these guys, I can tell you, are everywhere. Anywhere you go, they are there. They have their fingerprints in all the political parties.
And they've got the money.
Yeah, they got the money. So if you go there, they tell you what to do. If you don't, like in Anambra, when people don't even know that a few weeks to the elections in Anambra in 2003, Christopher stopped funding Ngigi. The late Dikebo had to appeal to the late Alamesia or the late Anibori to give him money, because Christopher said, I'm out. And that was, he will have just lost woefully. Of course, support came from Abuja, the police, soldiers and stuff. And it's common. All our law enforcement agents are often compromised during elections because it's about money. You're a police commissioner, how much are you going to earn at a time? And then somebody's offering 50 million, 100 million just for one day. So it's about pain versus gain. So when the person feels, and normally the CP, for instance, might not even know what the man has done with his bosses in Abuja or at the zonal level. So even if he fails to take money, somebody else will take money. And you saw the governor accusing the deputy commissioner of police in charge of operations. So you wouldn't know what orders he's gotten from Abuja, from anywhere, because that's the only truth. When Raphael Ngige came to Anambra to kidnap Ngige, the IG didn't even know about it. The CP in Anambra didn't know about it. But he came, he did the deal one-on-one, and he was able to pull that.
I have to say, it sounds very, very depressing and demoralizing. but I also, I appreciate the insight and the hindsight and the foresight that you've given us with your analysis. I want to thank you very much indeed. And please come back and talk to us again.
Thank you very much.
Chuks Akunna is a political commentator, executive director of the Authority newspaper in Abuja, and former bureau chief in Port Harcourt for This Day newspaper. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Bayelsa State. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.